Hey everybody, appreciate you coming today. We'll get started in about 2 minutes here. Well, hey everybody, my name's Troy. I'm a project manager for the product team here at Stack. And today I'm joined by Deja, who is a product manager for the marketing side of the company. And really to start, we just want to first of all say thank you very much for attending today. I know, a lot of people are separated and a lot of people are working remote and schedules are just crazy right now. So we are just incredibly appreciative that you took time out of your crazy schedules to join us this afternoon. And really for the next hour, we're going to try to focus on, very positive things. There's enough not so positive things in the news, but we're going to talk about enhancements that we've made to the software over the last 3 months. So one advantage of us being a cloud-based software is that we're able to push out enhancements rather quickly, and we do. The challenging side of that can be informing everyone um, of what the enhancements are and how to use them. So this is a new series, and special thanks to Deja. She kind of came up with this idea and coordinated the whole thing together. So thank you very much for all that. But we'll start to do a quarterly webinar and discuss, the features that come out the previous 3 months. Currently, we send out emails, kind of explaining these features. We've also added that little what's new section. So if you're following my mouse, I'm up here on the top right of the screen, and there is this little new what's new section to kind of talk about things that we've released in a quick way. So just to let you know that that is there. Also, as part of the webinar today, there is a PowerPoint. Thank you for Deja with your help on that. Attached to the GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side that you can download and take with you is to kind of jog your memory on the different things that we've covered today. So, we've really put out a lot of new features in the past 3 months. So I wouldn't consider this, a training on how to use each specific feature. This is more of me trying to raise awareness that these features exist. Okay, so you can be like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'd like to learn more about that, or I want to try that, or I want to get a training on that. Just to remind you also, I did mention the PowerPoint is available to download. I'm not actually going to go through the PowerPoint. I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint type webinars, so I'll be working in the application the entire time. but ways to get help. So if you see something here and you're like, oh, I want to get some more information on it, underneath the question mark here is our online help guide, which is searchable. And I'll actually show you that once we get a little further along. And then as always, our little chat icon down here in the bottom right, where you can click a new conversation, chat your question in, and one of our staff would be able to answer your question while you're working in the application. You're also welcome to schedule training. So, one of the differentiators with Stack is that we offer, free unlimited training to our paid users. So please, take advantage of that. Just verbally, kind of things that we're going to cover. Now, since January 1st, we've released a new hotkey, which is kind of difficult to show hotkey on a webinar, but we're going to try to pull that off. We've released user roles within Stack. We have greatly enhanced our reporting and what you can do, the functionality of those reports. We've introduced plan overlay. So we went from, not having plan overlay in our software really to best in class plan overlay in the industry, which is, I'm huge excited to show you that. And we've also released a new catalog for our pro users who are on the HVAC side. So kind of the format for this webinar, I'll talk for 30 to 40 minutes or so. There is a questions panel on the right-hand side of the little go to webinar panel. Feel free to type in any questions that you want. Deja may respond to some of those, and then we'll read through those at the end to get all your questions. So I love a very interactive type experience. So please, lots and lots of questions for me, please. So let's get started with the first one on the list, which is our new hotkey. So we get hotkey requests all the time, which I totally get. Everyone wants to be able to work faster. This one is actually one of my favorites. So let me show you kind of by using the mouse what we tried to accomplish with this hotkey. So I'll just hop into a plan page and say that I'm over here drawing with my 5/8 drywall ceiling takeoff. So I'm over here measuring. To end this, to stop measuring, to end the takeoff and then start another, I would take my mouse from here, move it over, click on finish measuring. And then if I wanted to search, I would type in, or I would hit the little green arrow here to get started. So again, I'm drawing here, draw, hit finish measuring. I can then either type to search, or I can click on the little green arrow and then come back over and draw. All right, so this is what it looks like with the hotkey. So again, I'm drawing, I'm over here. The hotkey itself, if you're on a Windows computer, is Control S. If you're on a Mac, like I am today, it's Command S. So I'm going to leave my mouse right over here in this section. I'm going to do Command S. That is going to end the takeoff. And I'll show this the second time around, but my mouse cursor is actually in the search takeoffs box. So I can start to type the word tile. It brings up my 12-inch tile, press enter, and now I've switched and my mouse is in the same location. That is huge cool. If it didn't seem really cool, it's because it's kind of hard to show in a webinar. But if you try that 3 or 4 times, you will be hooked. You will not believe how much faster your workflow will be. That is my go-to hotkey in the software. Show you some tricks here, okay? So say that I'm in here and I use Command S, okay? It takes me to the search. Now, notice on my list here, I have 2 different takeoffs that have the word concrete in it. So if I start to type the word concrete, we don't have a system for choosing like an up and down arrow to be able to select one of those and then start. So you need to narrow this down to a single takeoff to really get the speed advantage. So what I would do is either search for the word slab or footer. So I would just go here, start to type in footer, enter, and I'm in drawing mode. It is really that fast. Command S, back, search for brick, enter, draw, Command S. I think you guys will really, really like it. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. And especially, if you use that any this week, hop into the chat and just say, hey, Troy, we really like the hotkey. For me personally, I use it all the time, and I just can't believe how much faster it makes the workflow. So we released that the first week in January. In the second week of January, we released user roles. So by default, say that you buy a new subscription of Stack and you buy it for 6 people in your company. In the past, everyone had the same permission level, which could be, dangerous at times. People make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. So we created user roles to kind of confine those actions to be, okay, if I made a mistake, it's a little less painful. To get to the user roles, again, if you can follow my mouse, I'm going to go up to this upper right-hand corner for this little person icon. I'm going to go to my account settings, and I'm going to go to my company users. So this would show all the users that are in your account. I can say, here's myself right now. I am the account owner. If I click on this little ellipse, this is how I get to the different roles. That's also how you update. If you have a name change or want to change your email, that's where you do that also. But this is where you update your different roles. Okay, so we've got an account owner role. We've got an estimator role, a takeoff operator role, and a viewer role. So let me show you how to find the help article, just to kind of show you our help center. And then I'm going to touch on the limitations of those four roles. But to get to those, you would go company settings, company users, and then to the ellipse. And they're right down here. There's also a link to the help article right here, which is awesome, but I will show you how to get out there. All right, so say that we'll hop back into my project. There we go. And say that I want to access our help center. Click on the little question mark and go to online help guide. That's going to open it in a different tab. We have it broken down into these different kind of, you think of them as folders, but this is also searchable. So I could just type in the word role, and here is the help article on user roles. It is extensive, so there's a nice grid here that'll show you the difference between each of the roles, and then it's going to go on how to find it and further information on that role. So again, if you think this looks really appealing, this is a new way to find a lot more information. But let me kind of run through it kind of quickly what the differences are here. So as an account owner, I have access to anything in the project. So I can create takeoffs, I can do markups, I can create assemblies, I can modify assemblies, I can change coverage rates in the items, I can create company level label groups, I can do anything. Okay, so account owner is an unrestricted role. The next role is the estimator. So again, the estimator can do all the takeoffs, can do all the markups, can add an assembly, right? So like I've got an assembly attached to this drywall, so the estimator can go in and change any of this, can modify any of these, has full advantage to use items and assemblies. The only thing that the user role cannot do is to actually go into an assembly, so kind of the behind the scenes math here, and make changes to any of the formulas here. So the thought is the account owner is either whether they're using stack assemblies, or they're using a modified version of a stack assembly, or you're just creating your own assemblies for your company, that really the formulas here should be locked down, you know, and unchangeable, because it's really easy to get in here and make an accidental delete or add a, you know, a multiply somewhere there shouldn't be a multiply, and we just don't want to do that. So the estimator role, again, they have full access to use items and assemblies, but they're not able to change the math either within the assembly or the coverage rate, which is the math portion inside the item, okay? Our other role would be a takeoff operator. So the restriction here is they're not able to add takeoffs from the takeoff list into the takeoff library. So if you're brand new to the concept of a takeoff library, you'll love it. Just yeah, this right here, just learning this will benefit the whole webinar. So when you create takeoff templates, like I've created this one, 5/8 drywall, you know, I chose the measurement type as an area. I added a description, in this case, a SKU number. The system's going to automatically pick the color. You can override it, of course. So I made that red, and then I attached this assembly to this takeoff, okay? You really only have to do that one time. You know, this becomes a template that you'll use for all of your future projects. It's a great thing. So when you start up or open a brand new project, let me hop in here just a second to show you how this works better, but you would add this. So here's my 5/8 drywall. I'm going to add it to, I'm clicking on this little ellipse right here, and I'm going to add it to my library. So what that does is I'm able to access any of the takeoffs from my library and then bring them over into the project. So here's my takeoff library. Again, it is also searchable. So I can type in door. I can say, yep, this is a great one. All I have to do, click the little green arrow and then go do some door counts. Just like that. Command S, my hotkey, return to the list, and I can see that that brought over my takeoff into the project. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. If whatever you bring over from the library has an item or assembly or multiple assemblies attached, they come over with it, which would allow you to, you know, change the drop-down menus on it and then draw. But it is a much faster workflow. So the takeoff operator would not be able to add takeoffs to the library. Again, the thought being that the account owner or the estimator wants to create uniformity here, you know, so that everyone is using the same language for their takeoff template on every single project, you know, that they can change or set the color code, and that the right assembly or assemblies or items are attached to that. So it's a really good workflow. So we kind of lock that down for the takeoff operator just to keep a nice uniform experience here. All right. Also keeps, like, my library is a mess. Like here I've got 2 different concrete footers. You can go in there and delete things out real easily by, you know, just clicking on one of them and hit delete. But it's a great way to keep your language consistent on all your projects. So I highly recommend you use your library. That combined with that hotkey, you wouldn't believe, just with those 2 changes alone, what that would do for your speed in the software. Okay. The last role is the viewer role, which is really, you know, how it sounds. It is a viewer type role. So the viewer cannot, you know, make any measurements, cannot do any markups. They cannot You know, they're not adding assemblies, they're not changing anything, they're just viewing the project, which right now with the view role can be really important. Like I said, a lot of people, you know, are remote, they're separated. It's difficult time. So if someone of another role comes in here and adds notes, you know, kind of our collaboration, you know, I could say, boom, need to order on, you know, 3-25. You can leave notes for each other here, or leave notes for your viewer license. So you can either do call outs, you know, and have this point to a specific thing. You can go in, you know, and cloud like I did here. So you want to say, okay, there's something really important on this A111 detail, or you can just strictly add text. You can create a text box here and say, hello. You can also change the font size and the color. So I'm just going to click on here. I can say, you know, I want my team to really see that. So I'm going to make that red. And there are little plus minuses here that you can increase the font here. So I know that wasn't part of the topic, but wanted to kind of touch on, you know, communication that you can do with inside Stack, especially since a lot of us are working remote right now. So some great tips there. You can also, let me hop out of this project for a second. You can also leave notes on the project itself. So this is the project that we're kind of looking at today. I can go to edit and you'll see that there's a note section. So you can leave any types of notes here about the project that you want for your team members to see. You can also expand this, you know, so you can just keep on making notes right there. So I just wanted to point out these kinds of things exist, especially in the kind of the remote, separated world that we're unfortunately living with in the morning or every day. So roles, we released those mid-January. Again, we've got an account owner, an estimator, a takeoff operator, and a viewer role. Any questions at all, you know, hit our little chat or go to our very well done help article right here to guide you through that. All right, next on the list is around the mid-January or so, we released some additional functionality into our report. So let me kind of explain why we did that to start with. So right now, our takeoff templates and also our reports show everything in its totality, right? So these are the totals for the entire project. The reports show the totals for the entire project. If you add a plan legend will show you the specifics for this page. But a lot of people want to group their data even further. So let's see if we have an example here. Elevation is a good example. So with my brick here, it's going to show, okay, this is my square footage for my brick, but I may want to break that down to look at the brick between my north and my south and my west and my east elevations. And we do that through label groups. So let me kind of activate this just to show you where this part is. And I'm going to stay on this labels talk for a couple more minutes and I'll come back and show you how we actually create one of these, just in case you've never seen it. But prior to us making the enhancements to reports, we had a limitation on data. So you can see that I have 5 different labels in the project, one for CSI, one for elevations, one for the estimator, one for the phase, one for the subdivisions. That's CSI subdivisions. I could have named that one a little bit better. But in the past, you could do this, but the limitation on our reports was you could only bring over 2 labels of data. Okay, so it was a limiting experience. We got lots of people doing some amazing things in the software, and a lot of people are asking, you know, for all this data. So that's what was the driving force behind all of our enhancements to reports. And then we just made a lot of other things work much better along the way. So let me show you kind of what the end result is, and then I'll circle back here and show you, how to actually create one of these. But one of the advantages, just right off the bat, is that you can group your takeoffs here by any of your label groups. So I can go right here and I'm gonna say, I wanna group my takeoffs by my CSI label. It's a nice, great, it's a visual way to have a better understanding of your breakdown here. I could also add my subdivisions. So I can see, yeah, here we are. So it's adding structure to this left-hand panel, which is just a beautiful thing. But we also brought this functionality over to our report. So let's hop into a report here. All right, so this functionality extends through. So we have our 3 measurement reports, and we have our 4 material reports. Functionality works the same in all of these. So this was the first hurdle that we were trying to get through. So now I have 5 labels in the project, and I have all of this data in my report section. To speak about labels now, you can have up to 10 plus the plan name. I'll touch on that in just a minute, but there's a lot of data. So to follow this across, I can see here's my 5/8 drywall. Here is the description that I typed in, my quantity, my square feet. This I can see is the scale that was set. And then if I follow this to the left, I can see, yep, that's part of my 09 Finishes CSI. It is not associated to an elevation because it was a floor plan, not an elevation view. I can see that John was the estimator that did this work. It was part of phase 3 of the construction. And then my subdivision is broken down, okay? If we go down for another example and we look at our brick, again, here is all my information for my brick. And it's going to show, okay, this brick is associated with multiple labels. It's associated with my east, north, south, and west, okay? Now, if I wanted to expand that, I could see the individual measurements associated with those levels. Just click right here. You can click on expand and expand the column, or just click right on top of these little pills. Boom. So now I see my brick. So this is my square footage for the north, square footage for the south, square footage for the west, square footage for the east. So it's a way to drill down into your data. If you want to collapse this back up, just click on one of those and all of that will roll right back up. We've also given you the ability to control what you want to see here. Okay, so this first little columns button, this will show you everything that's turned on by default. So with the little check marks in it, also things that you can turn on if you want some additional information in this report, or things if you want to turn off. So if you want to see your plan name, absolutely, that'll show you what plan name. If you don't want to see your plan name or your scale, just simply turn them off. And that's going to control what you see on the screen. Also, if you're using labels, you can group by any of your labels. So I can go up here and say I want to group by my CSI, and now I have my groupings. If I want to group by my subdivisions, I can. And you can group by, as many things as you want to. It gets a little difficult to read once you get deeper like this, but the software is powerful enough to let you do that. Expand is just expanding these rows, again, to show you on that brick example. And then filters. We had filters in our old reporting, but they were just really difficult to use. So it's a little more straightforward now. So if I just want to see my 03 concrete, I'm just going to click on that and I can see the takeoffs that are associated with my 03 concrete. So filters work much better in the new world. We did add a reset button here. So if you get a little crazy with your groupings and you're like, oh, and I've turned on all these different columns and you're like, I just want to get back, you can just reset. It'll take you back to the original form here. Okay, but I really encourage everyone to hop in here and use some of this to really give you control over your data. Also, this is sortable, so I can click on this and sort ascending or descending for any of the columns. I can change the order, so if I want my subdivisions next to my CSI, which I really would, I'm just going to drag it and pull it right down there. So you can reorder, you can resize things if you want. Just a lot of the little things that we couldn't do in our classic reports that just makes life so much easier. We also, while we were in here, we increased our export options. So since the history of Stack, the Excel side, all we had was a CSV import, and that's how we got by for years. We're now giving you 3 different formats that you can export to. So we have an export. So a lot of people would export to CSV and then make changes to it and then have to save it as an Excel file to save their formatting changes. You don't have to do that anymore. So if you export directly, it will be an XLS sheet, not a CSV, and it will export exactly how you see it on the screen. So whatever columns are showing, whatever groupings are showing, what you see on your screen will be included in your export. So you have full control over that. CSV now is kind of like a raw data type of export that will give you all of your data. This is an excellent format for those out there that like to use pivot tables. So export this, it'll give you every ounce of data in the project. You can quickly throw that into a pivot table and really kind of slice and dice however you want. Very cool. And then for those of you that use our project cost calculator, which is a free download right up here under Excel tools, the project cost calculator allows you to enter in pricing. If your pricing is different than your items, allows you to add markup, margin, overhead, that type of thing. And as a kind of a spoiler alert, what we're working on right now is this little estimate tab. We'll have this out in April, which you'll be able to do all of that within Stack, which is incredibly exciting. So we've given you some additional export options. And while we were here, we said, you know what? We really need to make our printing look better. So in the past, we always had the browser print, which is honestly was not a great looking. I consider that more like a quick print. But now we have a more formatted report, and you can choose your orientation. So I can say I want my report to be in landscape. Again, it's going to be a nice formatted report that I can either click here to print or I can download. Okay, hit close to just go back to the reporting. And the other thing is snapshots. So in our previous version of the reports, you could create saved reports, but they were just a very static picture. Our snapshots are the same, so it's still a static picture, but you can interact with them. So we can see I saved a takeoff quantity report on January 27th at 2:20 p.m. So if I click on this, this is going to show my takeoff data at this point in time. Okay, so this is what my measurements were at that point in time. What's really cool is you can do everything that you could with reports. You can control the columns, you can control the groupings, you can expand, you can filter things. Again, we can print these. Okay, these are snapshots, but now the data is interactable. And again, everything that I'm covering here works with all of these same reports. So especially if you're working with a pricing report, We're going to want to create a snapshot. We're going to give you a default name. You're welcome to type your own name in there and then save it. It's going to populate over here, time, date, stamp it for you. This is especially helpful for pricing changes. So if down the line you make a pricing change, this will show you, okay, as of 3:25 at 2:33 p.m. Eastern time, these were my prices for the project. So snapshots are very, very powerful. Highly encourage everyone to use it. And just all the additional functionality that we have here. This was all about giving you, the user, control over their data, okay? It was a big release for us. All right, let's talk about plan overlay. So you hop into projects. I uploaded a new project for the webinar here. Here, just called it overlay. So for those of you that are new to overlay, the concept is, I have an original plan and then an addenda came out. So I want to overlay the addenda on top of the original so that I can see the differences between the two plans. So we released this right at the end of January. We released a very basic version overlay. We were able to get lots of good feedback from our users, and we really enhanced overlay throughout the month of February to really make it an incredibly powerful tool. But let's kind of start at the beginning and work back. So here is my original plan. So I'm just going to open it up. That's the one that I'm looking at, my original. I'm going to take my mouse over to the right navigation, click on overlay, and it's going to bring up and say, okay, which plan do you want to overlay on top of this? Okay. And I want to put the one in my addenda folder. Well, let's step back and say, how did you get an addenda folder? So you could, of course, when you upload your project, everything is going to, by default, go into your plans folder. You can create folders, and you can either do it upon upload, or you can do it after upload, and then just drag this over. Let me show you really quickly, and then we'll get back to overlay. So what I did in this case was I created a folder called addenda, and then I created a folder called original. And then I went into the little ellipse directly across, and then I uploaded plans into that addenda folder, okay? It's also drag and drop. So I could say, here are, my fave plans, whatever you want to call it. There, I have that. I can say, what, I want that one, put whatever you want, just put a little check mark and then just drag it over there, okay? You can also drag, from this one up to this one. So a lot of drag and drop functionality. We've done a lot, come a long way with like plan management, really to let you organize your project how you want. And what's really cool is we give you these kind of quick pills up at the top. So if I want to see my original thumbnails, click our original, boom, I'm down to original. Click on plans, takes me to the top. Go to my favorite plans. There we go. So just some nice navigation here if you wanted to know that. Also helps with overlay. You could name these, or some of them would have like a revision after it, which is great. In this case, I just use folder in here. So sorry about the little sidetrack there. So this is my original. I go back here to overlay. Again, this is going to show me a thumbnail image of everything that's in the project. You can also search by the plan name if you know it, but I can see mine is right here on top in my addenda folder. So I'm just going to click there. That's going to spin for just a minute while it's overlaying the image. And what it's going to do, it's going to turn all the common lines to be this purple color. Let me zoom in here so you can see. So all the common lines are this purple color, and then I can see the differences. So the red here would be my original plan. We can see that the original plan had some walls here, and we can see the revised plan, added a wall here. So we can quickly see, red was the original, and in this case, blue was the revision. We do also may kind of point out this blue bar at the bottom with some instruction, because there's a lot of things you can do. You can resize this, you can do a lot of different things, and we'll kind of touch on those. But we do have some instructions down here. Also a quick link to our help article. Here's a little star where you can click there and provide feedback. Huge thanks to everyone out there that provided feedback. A lot of the enhancements we did throughout February were based on this feedback. So love that you guys were engaged and kind of helping us along there. All right, so we have a plan on top of a plan. We can see some differences here. If I take my mouse up here to the upper right, here is our little layers box. So this will just identify, okay, the red color is with the original, the blue color is with my addenda plans. One of the really cool things with Stack is you can continue to add more and more overlays. Okay, our competitors can't do that. So say that you want to overlay, like we just did, 2 architecturals, an original and addenda, and then you may want to overlay a structural plan just to make sure that there aren't any protrusions or something that's going to be in the way of something else. Incredibly powerful. I'll pick one here. It's not going to look great just because it's a different plan, but you get the idea that you can just keep adding layer and layer and layer to this, to get a very good idea or a good feel for the project. To remove a layer, well, first of all, let's talk here. Let's kind of start here and work over. So if I'm not fond of green or I'm not fond of blue, I can pick the little color picker and say, you know what, I wish that was orange. So you can control the color of your layers if you want to. You can also hide them. So I could either close this overlay altogether, or I could just hide it, and then bring it back as needed again, or I could just close that out and take it down to my 2 layers there. So huge, powerful feature, just being able to do multiple overlays on there. Another feature that we introduced here, and we call it plan differencing, and you can get to it 2 different places. So again, if you're following my mouse in the upper right, we have a differencing icon here, and it also exists right here. So I can click on that. Again, it's going to kind of spin and think for a minute. But what this is going to do is take all the common lines that were purple, turn those to a black, just to give us a better visual experience between the blue and the red in this case. And it would have been other colors if I would have chose, other colors. But so where you can see, oh, we got this little icon appearing that we're taking the difference between these 2. Normally this doesn't spin for this long. You gotta love live webinars. So that usually would have been completed now, and you would be able to see what I was talking about. The other thing that we introduced was the ability to move your takeoffs from, oh, page unresponsive. No, that's not good. Move your takeoffs from one overlay or one page to the other. Hold on, let me get back to a better state here. Sorry about that. So you can move your takeoffs. So in the past, you would go back and copy and paste them, which was okay, but it's a whole lot easier just to move them while you're in overlay mode. So again, here's back to my original. I haven't done any takeoffs on this project. I just uploaded this, but for example, let's go to my original. And I'm just going to put a big markup right in the middle just so you can kind of see the move concept. So go to markup. Let's just put a big old highlight right here. Ta-da. All right, so we got this big highlight on my original, and now let's overlay this A one-on-one A with the addenda. There we go, overlay, click on the one that's in my addenda folder. It's going to combine the two. And again, just kind of picture that you did all kinds of flooring takeoffs or ceiling takeoffs or wall takeoffs, everything you've done there. And again, I can see my differences. Common lines are purple, but now I can go to this little layers box, and this little icon right here is move. So click that, boom, it's really fast. It just moved everything from my original. I can pop back here and show you, no longer on my original, it is now on my addenda. So a really, really quick way to move move your takeoffs back and forth. One thing that I forgot to touch on, let me touch on it really quickly, is we also introduced another way to print, which works well with overlay. So in the past, we've always had this print icon here that's going to give you, the full-size PDF. We introduced a new way to print the current view. So this is what you'll want to do if you want to print a PDF of the overlay. The other really cool thing here is if you want to print just a section of the plan, and you can do this when you're in overlay mode or just doing your takeoffs. Say that you only want to print what is on the screen here, you can do so with print current view. Another thing that we threw in February-ish, which has got a lot of positive feedback there. All right, let's leave the overlay world here for a minute. To close this out, I can either close my tab, I can go back to my layers box and close that out there. And we're back to where we started here. 2:46, so I'm running over on my time. Look at me being all talkative. I want to briefly mention that we came out with a new HVAC catalog. So for our pro customers, we have a new catalog available. So if you go into your stack assemblies, again, apologize for my messiness over here, stack assemblies, you'll see that now we have an HVAC catalog for rectangular duct or oval duct accessories that you can just attach to those takeoffs. So everyone, that should already be in your account. If you're on HVAC and you don't see that, just chat in, and anyone that answers your chat can install this. So pretty cool. All right, Deja 2:47. Look at me talking so much today. I think I've covered everything I set out to cover. How are we looking on questions out there?
Only a few questions right now, but we can go ahead and start on those. And if anyone has anything else they'd like to ask, they can chat those in and I'll add them to the queue. All right, so first we have one from William Daniel. He was asking if there was a way to click on a takeoff and it show the page that it's on.
Oh, okay. Great question, William. So let me see a couple different ways that we can do that. Let's go into a report. So I can turn on our page column here. So that's one way. And if I'm not fully answering your question, we'll do it a different way. So I can say, okay, these are the takeoffs that are assigned to, page 110. So I can see visibility that way, okay? Can also go, if you're looking for more specifics, you can go to the measurements by takeoff report. What this does is show all their measurements that wrap up into the tile. So here's my 12-inch tile takeoff. Here are all the measurements that I've done. So I've done 6 takeoffs for the 12-inch tile. Again, the plan name is going to be here, but if you want to take it a step further, and know where that's located. So say, you're doing a quick review here and you're like, ooh, 887, why is that so much different? Click this little icon right here. What that's going to do is zoom me to that page and then actually highlight that measurement. So, oh, okay, yeah, that is a much larger room. That looks good to me. So the measurement by takeoff report is a great way to find things. Awesome question, William.
All right, next we have a question from Melissa here. Can we add a previous takeoff to a new label, or does it have to be done at the same time? For example, she wants to group by room, but she's already completed a few rooms, so she wants to know if she can go back and adjust, or does she need to measure the rooms again?
Hey, Melissa, no, you can go back and adjust. And I think I even mentioned that I was going to go back and talk about how to create a label group, and I didn't. So thank you, Melissa, for keeping me on track. We'll kind of use that as an example. So this is my elevation view. So we can see here that I have this associated with the north elevation. You can change this at any time. So I can click here and I can say, you know what? And I wish that were attached to the south, and it's going to make that change. I could also use multi-select and say, you know what? All three of these buildings are considered to be the north. So you can absolutely change your selections at any time, either by single selecting the geometry or using multi-select, draw a rectangle around whatever you want to be included. That's going to highlight everything, and then you can make your changes there. But let me take that moment to kind of step back and explain how labels work. So thank you again, Melissa. So let me go back into my takeoff. Go into my elevations. I'm just going to delete this guy out and start over. Okay. And then by example, let me delete this one out as well. So I could be working in my project and I'm like, oh, you know what? I am working on this brick. It's by elevation. I know the software is giving me the total, but boy, I really wish I could break that down by elevation. This is how we would do it, okay? Start my takeoff. Here is our label section. So it's going to ask you what you want to group by. So in this case, I want to group by elevation. So elevation and start to create my label. So my elevation is kind of my header. And then I'm going to create my drop down here. So I can type in north. I can either hit this little plus right there to create it, or I can just press enter. So north, south, east, west. It's really quick to create these. You can then create, change the orders. So if you wanted to move this one to this order, you can delete these out if you wanted to, or if I had spelled elevation wrong, you could go back and correct that as well. So labels work. You can do it before you actually draw or after, and it really just depends on your workflow. For me personally, I find that it works better for me after the fact, but I'll show you both ways. So let's go back and do a realistic grab here. So we're going to say this top one is our north. We're going to say this is our east. And then this guy down here, oop, I missed my click, is our south. Boom. And then be like, okay, I need to draw this one. So I'm going to draw my west elevation. I'm going to set it first, anything that I wanted to set here. West elevation, and then realistically, I would grab my little rectangle and do one click here, pull it diagonally, boom, and we're good. Then I would go back and cut out my doors and windows, but we can see when I hover over this that is assigned to the west. This one up here is assigned to the north. I can see that in my little hover box. I can also group by my elevation here. Okay, so you can do that in the reports or in your takeoff template list. Another thing I don't think I mentioned is we do have a default label for every single project. It requires no setup whatsoever, and you can sort by plan name. So you can go to any project that you've already completed, go to this group by section, and then group by plan name, and it'll break it out for you. So that one requires no setup. It's built into every project. Again, that is there for you. All right, well, thank you for keeping me on track with that question. Anything else, Deja?
Yes, we have a lot. So sorry if it seems like I'm jumping around for everyone that's been asking multiple questions. I'm just going in the order they received. Next, we have Murad Gerguis. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. He wants to, you might have actually already gone over this, but when you do an overlay and already have takeoffs, are you able to continue using that takeoff and count the differences?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
All right, next is Joseph Ruffin. How can I perform a takeoff when a single floor is split into two parts? I need to do a linear measurement from one plan to the second layer to determine the total length.
That gets a little tricky. So you're working on, probably not that, that's a site plan. So you're working on an elevator or working on a plan here that's broken into two, and you're going to want to run, if I'm understanding correctly, you're going to want to run a linear measurement all the way across and then split that into two, maybe by label groups. You're going to have to, what's my scale here? And Nath, again, remember when you're setting your scale, you can hit here and you can calibrate. So I can type in 16 feet and draw from here to here to calibrate, or I can go to my standard scales, choose my 1/8, and then just verify that with a dimension line, like 16 feet. Yep, looking good. So what you're wanting to do, I think, is run a linear straight across, but have it divided in two. We don't have that ability yet. Let's see if I have a linear over here. You would basically just want to start and stop. So unfortunately, you're going to start here, click to your separation point, double click to shade that in, and then finish over here. That way you can divide that using label groups. You can say this was, section A, or this one was section B, but we don't have yet a way to cut that linear cutout yet, though. All right, Deja.
All right, next we have Jeff Gonzalez. He would like to see how to add or adjust pricing in the report screen.
Okay, hi Jeff. So actually you're not going to, at least today, now coming very soon, you can adjust your pricing. Let me get into a pricing report here. So right now we're not able to adjust right there. Oh, I should have said too, if you have a lot of data over here, here's a little caret icon. You can shrink that just so you can see more of your area there. So in today's world, I would say take this drywall hanger, which is $27. I would copy that guy, go up to my items and search for it, and then you actually make the change at the item level. So I had it marked at 27. I can go in and change drywall hanger and say, you know what, 37. Boom. If I go back to my report now, we're going to see, oops, this report. We're going to see now that it is updated, okay, to 37. So what we're working on now, what we're building right now, is the ability to create estimates and proposals within Stack. You'll see this soon with this little estimate tab up here that will allow you to actually just change the value right there, which would be pretty cool. Okay, so at the moment, you would go back and change it at the item level. we should have like a first version of this out in the next 3 to 4 weeks, which will give you a lot more functionality. All right, Deja.
All right, next we have Murad again. He would like to know if you're planning to add more drawing features like arrows, squares, circles, etc.
You know, we get that. That's a very common request, and I totally get it. You know, we're kind of tossing up. Do we want to do like arrows and things like that? The circle, I get that one, and maybe like an arc drawing tool is something that we're kicking around, or maybe just a free form markup tool where you can just go draw your own arrow. So yeah, that is something that we're talking about. It's not currently scheduled to happen, you know, in the next 3 months or so, but that is something that we're talking about.
Right. Actually, the next question is very similar. He was asking about ARC tools.
Oh, yeah, that is something we're talking a lot about. So yeah, for our drawing tools, you know, we have, you know, our polygon or a rectangle, and we are talking about adding a little arc tool to that. Great question.
Right. Next, we have Joseph Furness. Can you copy an array of takeoffs from one page to another? And is there a way to do a rafter takeoff?
Oh, two questions. So yeah, you absolutely can copy and paste. So you can either overlay, kind of like I was saying, or I can go out here, and this isn't the same overlay project, but I can go grab these and go back up to edit, and I can say copy. And then I can go to whatever plan page I wanted to. This won't match up because it's not the same plan page, but I can go here to paste, and then one click will bring them up, and then your second click is for placement, okay? Rafters, you're going to do that as a linear measurement and then actually use a rafter assembly, draw them one by one. That's a little deeper question that I can handle right now. I would hit your little intercom button and then set up a quick training with one of our trainers. They'll do it remotely, just kind of the webinar. It'll be a one-on-one screen share where they can show you how to measure the rafters, but you can absolutely do that in Stack.
All right. Next, we have Kelly Warwick. She would like to know when using metric, is 4/12 pitch the same as 4 millimeters to 12 millimeters?
It's going to show its own, it'll do its own conversion. So I don't have a true roofing plan here, but let's make one real quick. So say that we're doing a shingle roof. Boom, and we're going to do that as a pitched area. And I'll start my measurement, and I can say, you know, this is a 512, and I'll just go draw over this, my rectangle, and say that this was a roofing plan, okay? So what's really cool is in Stack, you really don't have to think about that conversion because we're going to do it for you. So right now, everything here is in imperial. So I've got my shingle roof here in square footage. If I go up to settings and then toggle on metric, it's going to do the math for us. So now if I go to project, we can see everything's in square meters. If I go back to this shingle roof, it's saying, okay, our rise is 127 millimeters over 305 millimeters. It's going to do that conversion for you, so you don't even have to think about it. And you can easily toggle back and forth between metric and imperial anytime with that little toggle right there. Excellent question.
All right. I think you already went through creating custom labels for grouping.
Awesome.
So we'll go to the next one. Zachary Smith is asking about how to create cutouts for windows on brick measurements.
Awesome. Hey, Zach. All right, so let's do it. So here is my brick. Perfect timing because I drew this without doing any of these window cutouts. So cutouts, we thought we were being like really cool when we designed this. So our cutout tool, oh, it is right there. We moved it out. So right now it's inactive. So I can see that there's a cut tool, but there's no way to get to it, okay? So here's the trick. So we're gonna go here, single select. I'm gonna click on this geometry. It's gonna highlight it. So it's in edit mode. You know, here I can move things around, I can add points, but what that also does is give me access to this cut tool. And just like our regular tools, I can do a cut polygon or a rectangle, and I can just go right over here, remove that door, remove this door, and knock out those two windows. And that is going to automatically deduct, those are some big edit points we got going on there, automatically do the math for you and remove that square footage for you. So once you're in highlight mode, just by clicking on it, you will have access to these two cut tools right over there.
Right. I think we only have two more that we'll just wrap up.
Okay.
William Daniels wondering if you can create subsections under an elevation.
Subsections under an elevation. I don't know if you're referring to breaking out the data with label groups, which you certainly could, or if you're referring to drawing underneath the elevation. If you could type back in to kind of clarify that for Deja, let's jump to the next question and see if we can come back to that one.
Sure. Shannon Stark would like to know if there's a way to have two copies of a plan if there are two different scales.
Hey, Shannon. Yeah, you sure can. So what's really cool about Stack, and that's a really common question, so thank you very much for asking that one. Let's see if I have anything in this project that would represent that. And I don't. All right, so let's use our imaginations a little bit. So we can see that right now the page is set to 1/8. And let's delete this guy that I just drew. Off you go, buddy. So say, you know, that you've got like a section view, or you're working with multiple section views on a different page that have different scales, you certainly can. So say that these I drew all in 1/8, which is correct. And then for some reason, I've got a section view or a blow up over here that's in a different scale. So I'm going to take care of my 1/8 inch scales and then just actually change my scale. Say, okay, you know what? For some reason, the architect has this one as a 1/4 inch, maybe because it's blown up. And I can go over here and draw with that. Again, I would set my elevation either before or after. Boom, just draw that really quickly. And then we can see by hovering here, let's get out of there, that is drawn in the 1/4 inch scale, and this above it is drawn into the 1/8 inch scale, which makes the new reporting really, really cool. Because if I go to my reports and I go to my quantity report, I can go to my brick here and I can see, oh, make that a little wider. I can see, ooh, you know what? My brick is on 2 different scales. You know, maybe that's a good thing, or maybe that's, you know, I just caught a mistake there. But another advantage of the new functionality that we brought over is that you can see if a takeoff has multiple scales. But yeah, to answer your question, you surely can. So just draw in the scale that you need to, change your scale, and then continue drawing on the same plan page. Or I think you said if there were 2, sorry, if I had 2 of these and uploaded them twice and they were different scales, yep, just set your scale per page, you know, calibrate if you can, or you know, verify with the dimension line that you're good. But other than that, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And
I don't
did we
think
get,
William chatted back in, so it's okay. I will just make a note to follow up with everyone else that also didn't get their questions answered today. So no worries. We'll follow up with you, but that's all I think we have time for right now.
Awesome. Sorry, I went a little longer time. I really enjoyed, you know, talking about all these features. I'm hoping that's why we exist as a company, is to make your takeoff and estimating process easier faster, more accurate. That's why we all come to work to build this, is to make positive change in your guys' lives. We have some really, really, really exciting things coming up. You're going to see 2 incredibly cool features released in April. So watch for those. Again, you can catch them in this little what's new section. Deja will do some cool marketing around it, and then we'll also follow up with a webinar. So I hope that you all found this beneficial for you. It was exciting for me to talk about what we released in the past 3 months. And I, again, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate all of you. You guys have a great rest of your day.